Hi, I'm Dame Kelly Holmes, and one thing I would like to say to everybody is you are never alone. You're not alone. There is always somebody that you know, whether it be a friend or family member or colleague, that would always want to be there for you.
Hi, I'm Juliette Burton, and sometimes my mental illnesses lie to me and tell me otherwise, but we are not alone. You are not alone.
I'm James McVey, and I want to urge you to remember that regardless of how you're feeling, there are other people in the world that are probably feeling exactly the same as you.
As much as it may feel like it at times, you're not alone.
You are not alone.
I was not alone, and neither are you.
None of us are ever truly alone.
It's a funny one because you've only ever lived in your head. So that's why normal is a very relative term.
I don't know when I was first aware of having something going on in my head that wasn't kind of quite right.
We always try and rationalise mental health, and actually the truth is you can't rationalise emotion as well as people try to tell you that you can.
When the hope goes, I think that it's very difficult to hold on to that will to live.
I was 5 when my parents first took me to a psychologist because, they could see something wasn't quite right.
I've been diagnosed with anorexia, anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, body dysmorphic disorder, bulimia, compulsive overeating disorder, depression.
I started running out in the street. I would start saying things like I'm lacking oxygen and all this, and it would get really bizarre. When I went to the doctors, they said, no, you've got an illness, you've got psychosis, which they call paranoid schizophrenia.
I won 2 gold medals. I was, international athlete, right at the top of my game, even during some of the worst times of my life. And that proved that it actually can still be strong, and that having something happen to you doesn't define you.
It's very hard to describe depression when you're not depressed. And when you're depressed, it's very hard to speak. And it's very hard to articulate. I know I'm alive, but I feel dead. That's how really bad depression feels.
I've experienced lots of suicidal thoughts and things like that, and of course people just want to rush in and intervene and help, but you still have to remember that it's a person who's in distress. It's not just, somebody's at risk and you've got to sort of fix them or stop them.
Suicidal thoughts are much more common than a lot of people think. Writing about that in the book was the first time I'd really properly talked about it, and I even sort of had to send it to my parents before I sent it off because they didn't even really know the full details.
What really gets me is people say, suicide is selfish, and, well, what about the family they leave behind? And, when I'm suicidal, nothing can come into that bubble I'm in where, I think that the best thing for everyone else is if I'm not here,
Vocalising things and having debates and raising awareness for these issues are, I think, the way that will change it. I mean, the fact we're having this conversation now that we wouldn't have had 20 years ago is brilliant.
There is a lot of community projects out there that it's peer support, it's therapy, it's plugging the gap where you might not have that in the NHS.
Some people might perceive my mental illnesses and being sectioned as a weakness. That's just one narrative. My narrative is it's my biggest strength because it's taught me empathy and fortitude and resilience.
I had a huge panic attack on stage at the Hay Festival and had to leg it off the stage, embarrassing. And then I sort of quite shamefacedly came back on, and I kind of got this standing ovation, which I was not expecting. But I suddenly realised, being open about your mental health isn't just good, but it's actually rewarding.
Look at who you are, what's causing you to feel upset or disappointed or disturbed. Can you help yourself first? And then you go to the next level. If actually you've gone past that actually you need help from somewhere, then get help. Don't be afraid to ask for it.
I feel every time somebody comes up and talks to me about it, and they literally do just go up to you on the train, on a bus, and start talking about it in a way that 5-10 years ago it just wouldn't happen. There's definitely a change happening.
If you feel scared, to use a therapy phrase, feel the fear and do it anyway. Because you'll break down barriers. You'll break down your own barriers. You'll feel more connected. And ultimately, once you get through that, you realise there's nothing on the other side, that the thing that you thought was scary, it's not there. You're not alone with it.